Keith 2011, you guys are on text page 180, blue notebook page 297. Today we're on lesson 4.4. Yesterday we did 4.3 and we dealt with our variables A, H, and K individually. Today we're going to tie them all together. So instead of just making one transformation at a time, we could be forced to make up to 3, technically even 4 transformations at a time. Okay? So we're going to do the examples in your textbook. I'm going to start with example 1. Get rid of this thing here. Example number 1 gives us this equation. Y is equal to 2. X subtract 4 squared minus 3. Okay. First thing I want you guys to do is to be able to recognize which numbers represent our variables, or our H, A, and K. So what in this equation they've given us represents our letter A? 2. Okay. What represents our K? Negative 3. Okay. Now, what represents our H?
4.
Technically, it's positive 4. Okay, guys? No, it looks like negative 4, but technically it's positive 4. We're underlining the whole thing because we can think of it 2 different ways. So now we have our letters. They've asked us to graph this. So I've made my amazing graph. And we're going to start. Very first thing I want to do. Now remember, we're always comparing this equation to our original y equals x squared. Okay? First thing I want to do is move the vertex. So the vertex of my x squared is normally at the origin. I'm going to move this vertex now. So I'm going to go with my k movement first. According to k, how far do I move? And which way? 3 down. K is negative 3, so I move down 3. 1, 2, 3. So I know I'm here. Next thing I'm going to work with is my H. Now, one way to think of this is it looks like a negative 4. So which direction should I technically move? I should move to the right. Now remember, the reason it looks like negative 4 is because H is actually 4. But you can think of it as the opposite. If you have a negative 4, you move to the right in the opposite direction. You move in the positive direction. So we're going to move 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have my new vertex. Okay? So I've made my movements along the x-axis and my movements along the y-axis. So I have my vertex. Finally, we're going to look at our letter A when we go to draw this parabola. First of all, is A positive or negative? It's positive. So because it's positive, which way is it going to open? We know for sure. Positive is going to open upward. So we know it's going to have that type of shape to it. Next thing we have to do is connect our dots. So we're going to think of our A. I'm going to do this in red on the side. Okay? From our vertex, normally let's say I go over 1. Okay? If I go over 1, what do I normally go up? 1. So what would I have to do? I'd have to square this 1. Now it's very important that we multiply by our A. And technically we've been doing that with our original. The only difference is, what was our A in our original? It's just 1. So when I multiply this number by 1, it doesn't change it. In our case, we have the number 2. So 1 squared is, what is A? 2. 2 times 1 is, so I go over 1, up how many? Up 2. Same idea goes for negative 1, okay? I'm just going to put letter A. We don't know what it is yet. I'm going back 1. So I go negative 1 from the vertex. I have to square it to figure out how far I'm going up. So I go back 1. Substitute my A in, which is 2. What is negative 1 squared? 1. And 2 times 2? There we go. So we go up 2. 1, 2. Here are 2 more points. So we have our vertex, 2 more points. I'm going to get another 2 just because I want to be able to draw a very accurate parabola. So we have our A again. This time I'm going to go over 2 spots. Okay? So I go over 2 spots. I know I have to square it to figure out how much I go up. I substitute my 2 in for a, because that's our a there. What's 2 squared? 4. 2 times 4? 8. So I've gone over 2. I got to go up 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's another point on the parabola. Now, if you guys notice a pattern, what if I go the other direction too? So back -2. How far are we going to be going up if we go back 2? 8, that's right. If you guys notice the pattern, our answer is going to be the exact same because it's a mirror image. We go up 8. So I go over 2, 1, 2, and go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I have a vertex and 4 other points. So let's complete this graph. We have our new parabola. Okay, I know I've drawn quite a few other things over there. I'm just going to quickly draw it again down here. Okay, so what that looks like, our vertex is at the coordinate of what? 4, -3. Positive 4, -3. That's where our vertex is. So I'm just going to redraw it over here. We know our vertex is at positive 4, -3. Positive 4, -3. And we have a couple other points. What is this point here? 5, -1. We have 5, -1. And what would this one be here? 3, -1. Okay. Let's put those other 2 points on here. So we have 5, -1. And we have 3, -1. And finally, my 2 other points, what are they? 6, 5, and 2 and 5. So let's put those in. We have 6, 5, and 2 and 5. Is that right? Am I in the right line? Yeah. 2 and 5. So it actually came out with 5 points here. So when I take a look at this, here's our parabola without all those other lines I've drawn. Here we go. That's the parabola they are looking for. Okay. You guys remember our original equation is y equals x squared, and technically a is 1 in that one. So this is the equation I'm referring to here. The vertex. We always start with the vertex when we go for a transformation. So the vertex of that equation starts right at the origin, 0 and 0. Okay? First movement I talked about was the movement on k. K was -3. So from the origin, I went 1, 2, 3. That was my movement on the y-axis. Then, from there, I looked at my h. Now, h looks like -4. So we move it to the right, okay? Let's think of it that way. It'll be easier for us to remember. If h looks like -4, we go in a positive direction. If h looks like a positive number, we go in the negative direction, okay? We'll think of it that way. So from where we were at our -3, we go 4 to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we're at our new vertex point, 4, -3. Now that we've drawn this vertex, we've got to talk about a. A was a positive number, so we know the parabola was opening upwards. And it was 2. So what that means is this parabola is actually thinner than our original one. It is stretched by a factor of 2. That's what we call it, okay? So normally we go over 1, up 1. In this case, because we're stretched by a factor of 2, we go over 1, up 2. Here's one of the points. Then we go over 1, up 2. Here's another one of the points. Then again, normally we go over 2, up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, we got to stretch that by a factor of 2. So instead of going up by 4, we multiply 4 by 2. We go up 8. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Here's another point. Same idea the other way. We go over 2. 2 squared is 4. So we normally go up 1, 2, 3, 4. But because we're stretching this by a factor of 2, we go up 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And here's another point. Once we have the points, we go to kindergarten and connect the dots. Oh yeah, right there. Nice. I missed a few. Okay? And that's how I translate or transform my parabola. So, right now I want you to do blue notebook, page 301 and 302 to practice what I've just shown you. The next part of this lesson, we'll take up example 2 and 3. Okay? So do those right now.